for today's Coffee and Cauldrons. Grab yourself a lovely something beverage. We also have the puppy on the bed, which shouldn't be on the bed, but she is today. If you are new to Coffee and Cauldrons is where we have a lovely little drink and I talk about personal things in my path and explain little stories and things I'm going through. A lot of stuff in the astral, a lot of stuff just in general, etc. and so forth. So this is just my path. Please take all that with a grain of salt. And let's get into it. Alright, so I got a request, I believe under my matron video, to talk about a little bit, do my deities interact? Or do they kind of conspire against me at some points? And it was really interesting because I never really thought about it that way before. Like, I never thought about deities coming together and deciding, okay, hey, we're going to do this, or we're going to make her do that, or like talking together, which is interesting. Like, I could definitely tell that like Persephone goes off and like talks to her hubby or others. Like, she disappears a lot of times, but I do think they do interact in a weird way. I think they kind of come together and decide things. But for those who don't know, my matron is Persephone and my patron is Loki, which is an interesting dynamic. One, because I think one of the cornerstones to Persephone, from what I can tell, is the power of choice. I think that you deciding things is really, really integral to her interaction with you. Like, I've just noticed that she will not come and do anything. She won't teach me anything. Won't even really pop in or out unless I specifically call her. Like, it's a very like, hey, I'm trying to get in contact with you, I think we should work on this, or you know, she has pushed me to do some things, but I have to give the final say always. Like, it's, and not even the final say, just I have to show some inkling of wanting to do the thing. There isn't really no surprises so much with her as it just is like, hey, we're gonna go and look at the cool stuff now, like, come on, let's go. But it's always like a warning is given beforehand type of deal. Whereas with Loki, that isn't the case at all. Mr. Chaos Man, Mr. Trickster, is full of surprises all the time, doesn't really ever ask permission. He pretty much just puts me on a path. He kind of just like gives me things, and then I have to decide whether or not I'm going to do them. So the choice, I guess, is still mine, but there are definitely times where I feel shoved or pushed or tricked in a way into seeing something or doing something, and I have to basically say whether or not I want to play the game with him. And if I play the game, then I don't really know what I'm going to get, but yeah. Which is interesting with those two kind of coming together, because in some respects, I definitely felt it was interesting that I contacted Persephone and I basically allowed myself to take on the word witch, and I did a dedication ceremony to her, and I felt really connected to her. And then out of nowhere, she just like went poof. Like, she kind of like disappeared. Like, okay, I got you. We're together. We're good. I need to go take care of some other stuff over here now, but you need to find somebody else. So bye-bye. Go ahead. Go, 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 go. And that was it. And I was like, what? But I feel like that was her pushing me to connect with Loki. It was her leaving space, in a sense, for Loki to come into my life. And I could definitely see where she's kind of like standing on this, like, I feel like if anything, she might be like standing in the background going like, okay, like, you're gonna play with him now. That's cool. I'm gonna watch him over here to see what he does, because you're allowing this. This is your choice to allow this into your life, so it's interesting. Like, whereas, and it was funny, she disappeared for a very long time. She took me down to the underworld side of my little realm that I travel to in the astral. It's kind of like my inner self. And when I go into it, she showed me the flip side of it. And I felt like a flip side and a connection to a lot of things that were outside of me in a lot of ways. And that was there, and we did a lot of exploration in that sense. I had a lot of revelations about that. If you haven't checked out that Coffee and Cauldrons, I'll put it up there, down below or something. But soon after, I was going on a lot more journeys with Loki once I contacted him, and when he burned my entire astral to the ground, I had actually not seen my matron for a very long time until he burnt everything down, and then I came out of it and was like, oh, hi Persephone, there you are. Like, she was almost like waiting for me to take that step with Loki, before she could teach me her next thing as well. So I do feel like in a sense they may have like talked about that. Like, I think we need to push her a bit, but Persephone's like, well, I can't do that for her, but you can go ahead. That's against my idea, but if you want to push her to do all the crazy things, you go for it. And I've definitely felt like there are times where Loki will do something, and if Persephone was in the room, she would just be like, what, stop that, what are you doing? Let her pick for herself. Where Loki's just like, nope, push. Like, no, we're not waiting for this nonsense. Nope. You said yes to playing the game, so we're playing the game. Like, this, you don't get to make up the rules. That's the hard part. And there's definitely something with the crocodile I've noticed. Like, it almost was like if I think about what was going through in my mind at the time, if I'm standing on this, like, little island in the middle of, like, swamp and surrounded by crocodiles, and, like, off in the distance, I could see that there was another bank of land, and Persephone and Loki are sitting there, and they're, like, kind of, like, whispering back to each other, but they're both like, you gotta make up this decision for yourself. Like, you gotta do that. We're not getting involved. Like, they were watching, but not getting involved, and I felt like they were communicating a little bit in that sense, but I don't know, it's very interesting. I definitely have this idea and this conception that clearly, if these are, for everyone, I don't really necessarily subscribe to the belief that the deities are for sure outside of me, or that they are for sure archetypes. I'm kind of like, whatever suits me best in the moment, I'm gonna go with that. And I'll figure out what the actual answer is to that question of whether they are outside of me or within me and parts of myself reflected in the afterlife, or when I break through a dimension or something. I don't know. Like, I'll figure that out later. As of right now, I'm just kind of adapting both. But when it comes to the part of myself that subscribes to the belief that they are outside of me, that this is another deity contacting me, I definitely feel at times where Loki disappears, or he's not dealing with me right now. Like, he has to go handle somebody else or deal with somebody else. And same thing with Persephone. Persephone deals a lot with other people, or sometimes I feel like she's just like going in and checking on her hubby. She's just like, oh, baby, I want to go play with my husband now. And he don't really vibe with you, baby girl, so I'm gonna have to go for now, type of deal. Which is like, that's cool, that's fine. I don't necessarily ever feel like, of course, a deity must come when I call. Like, it's much more of a ongoing relationship. And if I even think of an archetype, I would prefer an archetype to be something that's a fully rounded, fleshed out person or human entity thing. As opposed to something that's like at my beck and call in a sense, because then you don't ever get surprised or grow or anything of that nature. So now the two deities that I work with currently definitely are doing they do some things together, and sometimes I feel like they butt heads a wee bit. Like, they're a little bit like, nah, don't do that. Why are you doing that to her? Why are you getting involved with that? And then on the other side, I'm gonna have to do a whole Coffee and Cauldrons update on the crocodile situation, because some interesting things have happened. But, Persephone is pretty much stood her ground on that. You gotta pick this for yourself. Loki, not so much. Somebody got involved, and I feel like he suddenly, like, went and talked to Mr. Crocodile and said, like, hey, I think we could work together with this one. Figure something out with that. So he finagled something. I'll update you guys on that in another video, because I really don't know what the standard of that relationship is either. It's very, like, nah. Blah. But, yeah, no, deities definitely, I think they interact a bit with me. I never really took notice of it before until I thought about this. Like, oh, no, but they do. I feel like they're talking at some points. I feel like they're kind of, like, trading, like, tagging in and out as they, like, handle me a bit. And they definitely give me this space when I want to or need to deal with a different deity at the time. If I need to spend more time with my patron, I notice my matron has kind of taken a back seat. She's somewhere else. Same thing with my patron. He kind of like poofs out for a while, and then in comes like they're tag teaming with me. Thing that I actually like. I enjoyed that quite a bit, but I've never worked with them both together. I think the only time I've ever seen them together is when I had that swamp moment, and they were both on the sidelines going like, that's on you, baby. We're not, no, that's a you thing. You gotta handle this. But yeah, comment down below, have anyone else had matrons or patrons or like maybe guides interact with other things? I never even really thought about the other entity that I work with, my little lovely demon. He does play a little bit. Loki and him are intrigued. Loki terrifies him a bit, I think. There's a little bit of like mixed understandings of, like, I think he recognizes Deity as something a little stronger than him in a sense. Possibly. He seems a little more recoiled, or maybe he's just like, he likes the attachment to my energy better. I'm not entirely sure, but that's another thing. I've never really had much of different entities ever working together that I can think of. But if you have, comment down below. I would love to hear everyone else's thoughts on that, about deities working together, matron and patrons coming together. I think I was almost expecting that to be the case, because I wanted originally to have like Persephone and Hades, but ever since I had that breaking with Hades, I didn't ever expect it, and now I'm kind of, I guess, surprised in a sense that Loki and Persephone do talk and are like kind of in cahoots and sometimes disagree, like kind of like two parents raising the baby and they're just like, no, yes, no, this is how we're gonna make her grow, it'll be fine. Anyway, this has been Coffee and Cauldrons, so like and subscribe. You can find me on all the other social medias, the Twitters, the Facebooks, the Instagram, of course, at Shadow Harvest. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.